Hi, I'm Sally Kirkman from sallykirkman.com, and I'm here today with my dear friend and fellow astrologer, Christina Rodenbeck from oxfordastrologer.com. Together we're Astrology Talk, and today we're going to be talking one of our short little vignettes, our Astrology Talk Investigate. And the question we have for you today, which is very pertinent and topical at this time of year, is why is Scorpio season so spooky?
I don't know, Sally. You tell me. You're the Scorpio amongst us. Why is Scorpio season so spooky? Why is it associated with spookiness? I mean, Scorpio, right? Eighth sign.
Yep. Eighth sign.
Which is, and it's the sign of the fixed water.
Mm-hmm.
So we come from all kind of Libra, which is all about sort of culture and social stuff. We come into this Scorpio season every year, which includes, what does it include? It includes Halloween, the Day of the Dead, All Saints' Day, etc. And does it include Durga Puja in India? I'm not sure. Indian listeners will have to correct me on that one.
Okay.
But it includes these festivals where we celebrate death and dying.
Yeah, it does.
Samhain.
Samhain. And not surprising, really. I mean, there's, when in the Northern Hemisphere, the sun moving through the signs is so in tune with nature as well, isn't it? It's the cycle of the sun moves through the 12 signs and we're in sync with nature. So, Libra season is always around September 22nd, that shift, the equinox. And then the next sign is Scorpio. So 23rd, 24th of October through to 22nd of November is standard. And it is that time when nature is dying. It's kind of, it's what's happening on the outside is part of the this astrological symbolism as well. So, things the plants are dying off, the leaves are falling, things are mulching down into the ground. So there's a theme of death with nature as well, which, this is then when we're kind of looking at things spooky, it's kind of death, darkness, dying, isn't it?
And it's what's happening also is to do, because I think most people on the planet still live in the Northern Hemisphere, if you know what I mean, above the equator. And even unless you're very close to the equator, what happens is that the days are getting shorter now. And when the further north you get, of course, the shorter and shorter the days get. So what's happening is it's the diminishment of the light. Really, you begin to feel it. So you have the equinox at Libra, it's all fine. And then as we get into Scorpio season, the light begins to go down. And we know we're in the tunnel now towards the winter solstice, the darkest day of the year. So Scorpio season is the gateway into the dark of the year.
Yeah.
And that gateway is a gateway that is guarded by spooks and ghosts. And the dead, the however you see it, it's a place. It's guarded by spirits. Yeah. Traditionally in some countries, anyway, Christmas time was a time also when you told ghost stories, wasn't it?
Yes, it is traditionally. Yeah,
actually. So it's not just that it ends with Scorpio season, but Scorpio season is the gateway, and I find it quite interesting that in medieval astrology, the houses of the zodiac, the houses of the horoscope were given names, and the houses are actually associated not directly but tangentially with sort of certain aspects of the sign. And the eighth house, like the eighth sign, is associated with death and dying. And it was known, if you look at some old horoscopes, as the gates of hell, right?
Okay.
So this is Hades' realm that we're going into in Scorpio. So we need to go in protected by our ancestors, maybe, or with some protection, or with some knowledge that that's where we're heading.
And just to sort of flesh that out a little bit more with what
Yeah.
you're saying, and other, well, just other reasons around that. It's the time in the northern. The clocks always change, don't they, as well during Scorpio season? So we're getting less daylight, and also, in ancient astrology, both Mars and Scorpio were nocturnal. A nocturnal planet in a nocturnal sign, the traditional ruler of Scorpio. And then the modern planet of Scorpio is literally, no surprise that Pluto, god of the underworld, was attributed to Scorpio, with all these themes of that liminal place. In a way, I often think of Scorpio as that liminal place between the physical world and the spirit world. And Scorpio, anyone who's got strong Scorpio in their chart gets fascinated by that, absolutely fascinated with what lies beyond. I used to love, when I was younger, I used to love Ouija boards. It's just that sort of, there's a comfort there, or almost not being scared of it, but just wanting to explore it more. So that kind of, that pull of what lies beyond as well.
Yeah, it's when we all put one foot into the other world, isn't it? And part of doing that is to remind yourself that it's there, that there's, all is not what it seems. There's more to life than the surface. And that's the beauty of it, isn't it? The beauty of this time of year is that actually, guess what, folks? It's not all material. There's the immaterial world, maybe a million times bigger than this one. We don't know.
Yeah.
And that's just, so dipping our little foot in it by dressing up at Halloween and going trick-or-treating in the dusk is a way of participating with that. It's actually quite there's a kind of great beauty to these things, like Day of the Dead, the Mexican Day of the Dead. There's a kind of gorgeousness about some of these celebrations around this time of year.
It is, and I think there is a sense of beauty. I mean, I love all, there's particularly in the Day of the Dead, and I suppose Halloween now as well, there's so much kind of color and, the skulls that are drawn. It's like bringing beauty to the dead, and as a way of honoring that. I mean, often people can kind of create altars in their home, don't they, during this pivotal moment, and it's kind of like as October moves into November, these are the key dates, and wanting to bring beauty. Go on.
The big one here, of course, is Guy Fawkes Night, which is the 5th of November, which is allegedly all about the plot in Parliament, and in Guy Fawkes tried to blow up Parliament, and therefore we set off fireworks and have bonfires. However, we know that this is actually a very pagan celebration of bringing light, of creating light, of human beings creating light at a time of darkness. And actually, it's like it lights the way into the dark part of the year, and it lights the way into the next season. And one of the things about these fixed seasons, so there are 4 fixed signs, which are incredibly important symbolically. I've just come back from Italy and been looking at a lot of art, and of course Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the 4 Gospels, you see them all over the place, and they are represented by the 4 fixed signs. And Scorpio is actually an eagle in most of those, right? But that idea of these 4, they're not the corners of the year, which are the solstices and the equinoxes, but there are these 4 fixed periods. It's like the sides of the year that you go through them, and you need to be it's quite a still time quite often.
Yeah.
And you need something that's guiding you through, and that's these celebrations, these light celebrations. Because it is actually spooky when the days get short. And when we're going through the gates of hell. And when we're going into uncertainty and the unknown.
And also there was because I remember looking into Halloween, and that we dress up. There's originally, when, I mean, Samhain is the Celtic celebration, isn't it, this time of year? which again, these markers that fall halfway between the equinox and the solstice. And there was, it's a time to, I thought interesting, it's a time for food and feasting. So there you get the opposite of Scorpio, you get Taurus, you know, that food and feasting going on. But also they were afraid of the spirits of the dead. There were restless spirits outside. So they used to put masks on. They used to wear masks to confuse the spirits. And that was the way they'd be able to go outside, with masks. So I often think of, you know, the people who at Halloween are come knocking on the door dressed up. There they are wearing these masks to protect them from the spirits of the dead, and still asking for the, you know, the trick or treat. It's give me the sweets. It's still this, it's to do with food, isn't it, as well, the food and feasting as well.
Yeah, so that is why it's a spooky time of year.
It is.
Right. See you at the next question.
See you soon. Take care. Bye.